Planet Reddit. What is the dumbest thing you've gotten in trouble for at school? I was suspended for a full week for looking up dark poetry. And then Timmy Ducking died. We were told to cross out number 8 on a test. I finished the test early, so turned my slash into a big sun looking thing. The teacher angrily showed it to the class and yelled at me for not following instructions. I was always embarrassed by this memory, but thinking about it now just makes me angry. In the hallway I said I missed the stupidest answer on the test, not too grammatically correct. But I was in middle school. A teacher came out of her class and berated me for my vulgar language and tried to get me to apologize for swearing so loudly in the hallway. I sincerely had no idea what she was talking about. And I basically just kept playing dumb. I really don't know what you are referring to or what you heard me say. I promise I didn't swear in the hallway, etc. According to my friend who was in her class, the teacher thought I said that was a stupid ass test. Look out. We got a badass over here. Saying the word ass and such in school. Bending a paperclip and laying it on my desk. Then the substitute teacher, she was probably about 70 at the time, came over and told me this is a weapon. I was 8 years old. This happened to me too. But in kindergarten. When I was a kid in charter school, we used to have to walk in line with our hands behind our backs. And I ran out of line to hug my mom, who surprised me at school that day. I got detention. Duck you. Ms. Baxter. Was recess referred to time in the yard? I think you might have been in jail. No touching. Sharing a friend's locker. His teacher caught me opening his locker and sent me to the detention accountability room. The lady in charge told me that it was a stupid reason for me to get in trouble for and sent me back to my class. Edit. Spelling is hard. We weren't allowed to share lockers at my high school because it was easier to hold someone accountable when they found drugs. My locker was always in the back of a building I had no classes anywhere near, so I never used it. This happened to a lot of people, so most teachers would announce when we needed to bring our textbooks because it was impossible to carry all of them every day. If you were caught sharing lockers, you got in huge trouble. When I was in a high school, I never once opened any of the lockers I had assigned. 5 minutes ain't enough time to go there, piss whatever all at once, so why bother? I got a 2-day suspension for taking my banana out my bag, pretending it was a phone and saying hello. Is this the Apple store? Should have used a BlackBerry. I once showed a teacher that you could remove pen graffiti from the tables by drawing over in pencil and using an eraser to rub both off. She said she better not catch me doing that. I'm okay. Plot twist. The teacher was doing the graffiti. Kid's teacher was totally Banksy and he didn't even know it. Sadly, there's a worse one. But I feel this one fits the thread better. Of course, all schools have a no hat policy, which I respected. Although I love my hats. I was in middle school, 6-8th grade. And my older sister was a senior in high school. We went to pick her up after school. But we drove to the wrong side of the building. There are 2 sides for pickup. She was on the opposite side with some friends. Because it's impossible to get out of line. And over to the other side. My mom asked me to walk to the other side of the building and get her. So, I've got my jacket. And my hat. I didn't take them off because I don't even go to this school. And it's after 3. And I just have no reason to. I walk by all these kids who are much older than me. I don't even look like I belong. And walk inside. I'm almost out the other door. I see my sister. When I'm stopped by a teacher. Excuse me. What are you doing? I stopped. Thinking I'm in trouble for trespassing or something. Made sense to me in the moment. I looked at her and said, "Getting my sister? What are you wearing? Clothes? Hats are against dress code. Take it off. Or I'll write you up." So, probably that. So, what did the principal say? He actually called my sister in. Because she was the only student with a last name. She almost got in trouble for it. Not just dress code, but for the attitude as well. The teacher was there after she went to the office. She got even more mad because someone had came in my place. And I was hiding to avoid punishment. It took a lot to prove to this woman that I was a 6th grader. And not in high school. I made finger guns and said "ai." I did this to a friend at the busport. Not during class or anything. I was pulled aside and told to stop making gang signs and pro-gun signals. I was threatened with suspension and ended up getting a detention. Zero tolerance intelligence policies strike again. Breaking my ankle. 3rd grade. I was playing football and got pushed down. Ankle hit a rock and I was sent to the office. I was yelled at for playing and they refused to call my mom or give me ice despite the size and color of my foot. This happened during first recess, 10 am-ish. My mom didn't get off work till 6 p.m. I was in a cast for 14 weeks and I still have pain in that ankle almost 20 years later. Edit. My mom didn't sue. Even though she should have. She was a single mom with very little money and didn't feel she could afford the time off to fight it. Of course she will have won, but I understand her position at the time. Not sure if she chewed them out, but more than likely. She also didn't know until she got home from work at 6 p.m. that evening. So I went 8 hours with a broken foot before I even left for the hospital. I remember the doctor had to cut my pants off because my ankle was so swollen I couldn't get the leg of my pants off around it. It's disgusting to know how many others went through something similar. How did they all get away with this? Your mom should have sued the school big time. Refusing to give you medical assistance and even punishing you for it. Yeah. There's a lot of legal issues with that one. Yeah. I agree. I wish she did, but she was a broke single mom and I think she felt as though she couldn't afford the time off work to fight it. She didn't think she'd stand a chance against the school board. Which of course I'm sure she would have gotten a nice settlement, but I understand why she didn't. Not me. But a friend of mine once got in trouble for pushing someone else. When really, he was trying to catch them from falling backwards. Teacher passed by the room to see my friend with his arms out towards the person falling. Without any questions. The teacher said he would see my friend in detention. He also once got yelled at for softly singing a song to someone during a tornado drill. When the song he was singing was to calm someone else down. Awesome friend. Shit teachers. Logged into a PC. As it was bringing up the desktop. I hadn't even touched it since putting in my username and password. A login script popped up and ran in a CMD window. Teacher walks behind me and yells, "Stop hacking the system. You're hacking IT." I argued that I wasn't. And hadn't even touched it. Everyone else who hadn't logged in yet showed the teacher she was wrong. It was just the login script. She went ballistic. I don't know what a login script is. But you're all hacking. Apparently I wasn't supposed to laugh at this. So I got a week of after school detention. These all have to be countersigned by the deputy head. My slips weren't. But he was supervising the first detention. I explained what had happened. And that I thought I was probably being given detention for laughing at her age than the reason she wrote on the slip. Hacking the school computers. He pinched the bridge of his nose and exhaled loudly. I swear I heard him say "for duck's sake" under his breath. When I turned up the next day for detention, he told me I could go home. And didn't have to come again. This is by far the greatest thing ever. I'm just imagining someone yelling, "You're all hacking. Stop headshitting me. You're all hackers." I got detention for not attending a class I didn't have. Explanation. I was homeschooled for half of my classes. So at the time I had a first, second, and fourth period class. Rather than walk 20 minutes home, I hung out in the library and would help the librarians shelve books. The head librarian was extremely rude. So I decided not to do that anymore. After informing the assistant librarian. One day later my mother and I are in the principal's office for truancy, which my mother obviously argues against. The principal says she'll graciously give me 1 day detention rather than a week suspension, which is the typical punishment. Send the kids out of school as a punishment for being out of school? Logic. S. I always wondered that too. How does that help? I found out cocaine was a drug by accident. I made a joke about a classmate's dad selling coke. And in my head I imagined him driving around in a big rig with Coca-Cola labeling on it. Similar to the delivery drivers. The teacher reported it to the principal and I got scolded for talking about drugs in class. I had no malicious intent. I genuinely did not know what it was. But since I was 11 when it happened, the principal just assumed I was lying when I said I didn't know what crack cocaine was. What punishment did you get? Luckily, just the scolding. She quickly switched gears to scolding me about another thing I did earlier that week. In grade 8 we had to take written exams at the end of every sport. One of my friends thought it was stupid so she ripped her test up. I laughed. I got sent to the principal's office but she didn't even get yelled at. Still not sure why that was. I got detention once for getting injured. I was in prep and somehow ended up headbutting a metal bar across one of those wooden jungle gym things, like this, giving me 2 black eyes. I swore that someone pushed me but no one else would back me up. So I got detention for lying. They didn't even call my parents to let them know I'd been hurt. I just had to sit in the corner of shame in the classroom for the rest of the day. My parents were furious when they picked me up from school. This reminds me. When I was little I had just started at a new elementary school and the one friend I'd made and myself were running around the jungle gym opposite directions and ended up running into each other pretty hard. My head snapped forward over his shoulder really hard. Went to the principal's office and he saw I couldn't hold my head up straight because my neck was ducked but kept me till the end of the day and didn't tell my parents. Mom was ducking pissed when she showed up and saw me all cokey-eyed. I hope they tore the school apart. You could have had a concussion or something. I went through almost 6 years of high school without getting a single detention. Probably a month of 2 before graduating. One of my friends ditched school for about 20 minutes to go to McDonald's. He arrived back at school with a bunch of hash browns for my circle of mates to eat. And so naturally I had one. Later that day I was called into the deputy principal's office and was told off for leaving the school grounds. I received a lunchtime detention and was the only one that got caught. Being late to school when I was actually about a minute early. I ended up having to spend most of lunchtime in isolation. Guy was just on a power trip. My brother had a teacher like that in middle school. He was always getting in trouble for stuff. While my parents didn't punish him, they also didn't fully believe him when he said the teacher had it out for him. That was until my mom got a call one day at lunch that my brother would be in detention for disrupting the class that day. Problem was my mom had him out of class in the morning for a doctor's appointment. After that day things got a lot better for my brother. I sneezed in class when we were watching a WaterAid video and was given detention for laughing at the people in the video. Laughs and sneeze. I once set the monitor screen upside down with Control Alt down arrow and got sent home. Hackerman. Control plus Alt plus hack. Some girl came in crying to the classroom and picked me out saying that I scratched her with my keys. I've never interacted with the girl in my life. Also, got suspended. Suspension. Duck whoever did that. Yeah. Got sent to the principal's office and they asked me why I did it. I said I didn't do it and they told me not to do it again and they'll be suspending me for 3 days. In first grade, I finished a test and flipped my paper over indicating that I was done. Waiting for the others to finish, I drifted off into daydreaming. I snapped out of it when my teacher yelled at me for staring at another classmate's paper and copying their answers when my test was already flipped over and I was simply daydreaming. Still salty about this and I'm 21. I got in trouble because some donghead cheated off my test in year 5. I didn't even know until my teacher started screaming at me for cheating. The other kid was sitting behind me and was looking over my shoulder. Somehow that was my fault. That teacher was such a dunt. He said Hitler was good because he built roads and hospitals. He made fun of me in front of the class for asking him to help me do my private school was an ass. And he once told me off and sent me to the principal for talking in free time while I was reading a book. Silently. Oh, and if you said the word forgot, he'd berate you for using the F word. Unhinged mother ducker. Mr. James. Duck you. You fat a-hole. Oh, and if you said the word forgot, he'd berate you for using the F word. Unhinged mother ducker. I had a teacher that if we couldn't answer a question we had to say I forgot, as most of us was normally say I don't know. He'd go on a rant about we do know because he told us. What if I wasn't there, you don't? Friend of mine once got called out for staring at the teacher. Was told to pay attention. I got referral for being pushed down a flight of stairs by a bully. He got a detention, but no. I get punished more because I must have provoked him. Yes. Because the school bully needs a reason. UK detention is 1 hour after school. Referral means entire school day in a room. Working in silence. The UK's system for bullying is dreadful. I got told to just stay away from my bully. Yeah. Because I go looking for them in the first place. Edit. Most, but not all, schools across many countries have this issue by the sounds of it. I hope everyone who has had a bad school experience is in a better, happier place now. Back in Florida, I was told no matter what, don't fight back. Wait until after the incident and tell a teacher. Like, what the duck? How does that help me when I'm getting the shit beat out of me and I'm in desperate need of help? Thanks for watching.